disinformation. False or misleading information that is spread deliberately to deceive. That's what we're going to talk about today before we get into our Instagram rankings of the Democratic candidate and the Republican candidate to see who actually is winning. Because the media has one story and then reality is completely different. And we have ranked each candidate, Donald Trump and Joe Biden, on multiple different factors based upon people's actual behavior to understand who is winning. So, with that being said, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it is good to freaking see you. Now, with that being said, remember what we said about disinformation, right? False or misleading information used to deceptively manipulate what is going on, right? It is different than misinformation. Misinformation is inaccurate information. Disinformation is used to mislead people. That is what's going on with this election and has been going on for quite a while. If you take a look at this is the Real Clear Politics. All of the last polls here have Biden winning. If we click on here, this one from Emerson, we scroll to the bottom. I'm going to read one sentence to you, and then we're going to talk about it. Data was collected using an interactive voice responder system of landlines and online panel provided by MTurk. Very quickly, I get into this in a lot more in depth in yesterday's video. You can go back to the channel and check it out. Don't forget to press that subscribe button. But this is basically saying the spam system your bank uses calls you, asks you a bunch of questions on a landline, or they collect all of those spammy websites that say you can do surveys online and get paid. That is how they collect their data. MTurk is an Amazon company where you can create spammy polls or surveys to collect information for research purposes. I created an account, did 50 of those plus things, and you just literally try to click through the answers as quick as humanly possible to get to the next one, to get paid faster. Or landlines. I don't even think I need to say anything on here. Who the fuck has a landline? So, disinformation, misinformation. Remember that. Let's get into the next thing. This is from CNN, right? And fact check Trump. Trump falsely claims Google manipulated millions of 2016 votes. Or did he? And they get into that, right? And they start calling him out in this article. But when you look at what was actually taking place, this is researcher Robert Epstein. He's got a PhD. Oh man, that sucks to have that last name. He's probably getting lots of hate. You related to Epstein? Robert Epstein and Robertson. But Robert Epstein went before the Judicial Subcommittee in the Congress. And he goes on to say that he lives in California. He has been a left or left-center person his whole entire life. He supports Democrats. He supported Clinton. And the reason he's coming forward with this, I'm going to read to you. He's a researcher, right? So he does this research on Google, and he's bringing this forth to the world and through the U.S. government to show what is actually taking place at Google with their search results. And we touched on this in another video where there's actual staffers who work at Google saying that they're using that to manipulate the data. They're using the algorithm to manipulate people. There's no, let's call them like clues, right? Because there's not a paper trail. It's just people don't even realize they're getting manipulated. Kind of like the news, right? Let me read this to you. Data I've collected since 2016 show that Google displays content to the American public that is biased in favor of one political party. A party I happen to like, but that's irrelevant. No private company should have either the right or the power to manipulate large populations without their knowledge. And the whole reason he is going through and doing this is because he supports democracy, and he supports truth. You can go through and read his testimony right over here. I'll put a link for it in front of down below. And he actually doesn't support the Republicans, and he's bringing this forward, showing how completely biased Google is. There is some good people out there. Use your heads when you see anything like this. Remember, disinformation is used to mislead. That is what's taking place systematically with a bunch of different companies. This is then put up front on Google search, right? There's been testimony from the staffers at Google showing that they saw what happened in 2016 and they were going to not let that happen again in 2020. This is all on video. You can check Project Veritas. It is absolutely disgusting what is going on now. This is the first time in history you and I have had a voice. Before, it was 3 organizations shaping the perception of the American public. They're losing their power. They're losing their grip on reality, and so they need to go further that direction to try to maintain control. What they want to do is divide people and get more people to judge and hate one another. What happens when people are divided? What happens when people judge each other and hate each other more? Well, it's way easier to control them. Because when you do things out of love, it's way more empowering. Think about it for a second. It's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to divide people because it's easier to control people when they're full of hate and they're full of judgment. When you do things out of love, you can't control people. Think about that. Now, with that being said, let's get into the data. So we use a site called Social Blade to gather the Instagram data for Trump versus Biden. And we looked at 3 different things on this platform, plus 2 additional factors, one from Google and one from Instagram specifically. The first thing we take a look at is the total number of followers gained over the last 30 days. For Trump, it was 507,000 on the dot. Now, let's take a look at this. So Trump had 507,000 versus Biden had 307,000. That's over 814,000 people that have voted with their actions, right? And yet, when you come over here and you take a look at what the polling says, where we know the garbage and disinformation here is completely misleading, right? We've got landlines. That's completely misleading. That's not representative of what the fucking population has. Going to a survey site where you pay somebody 36 cents or 84 cents to take a survey where the only incentive is to click through as quickly as humanly possible? Come on. We need to rise up. This is absolutely ridiculous. I honestly believe that Joe Biden is probably an awesome guy, but he is definitely not fit to run like a store, let alone a country. And it looks more and more and more like elderly abuse, but that's never going to get talked about. Like, he's getting completely abused. He clearly doesn't have a grip on like what's actually going on. And I'm sure he's an awesome fella, but he does not have a clue what is happening right now. The next 2 factors we take a look at is the average number of comments and the average number of likes. So when you take a look at the following, right, there's surely going to be some people who don't have anything better to do with their time than consume somebody they hate, right? So there's going to be Trump people who probably hate Biden and yet they still follow Biden. And then there's going to be Biden people who hate Trump and still follow Trump, right? So 2 things on that. That can make the number slightly cloudy, even though we have 800+ thousand data points versus the 1,000 in the surveys, right? There's a big discrepancy right there. And this is people's actual behavior versus like the crap that they call surveys over here, right? And this is the level of the next point right there is, if somebody is doing that, what are you doing with your life? If you seriously think that is an intelligent way to use your time consuming somebody you hate, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or left or right, it doesn't fucking matter. If you honestly believe that is an intelligent use of your time to consume somebody that you hate, no fucking wonder there's so many people with mental problems in this country and around the world. Like, that's just not an intelligent strategy to use your one and only precious resource, consuming hate. If you were like, hey Sam, how do I lose some weight? I'll be like, go eat McDonald's and ice cream every fucking day. Does that sound like an intelligent strategy to you? There's documented research that show you're going to create different diseases in yourself by doing that. Like, it just doesn't, I literally don't get it. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. So let's take a look at some engagement factors, right? These are going to be people who actually like the posts. So that's a heart. Heart has an indication that they're supporting that, right? And when we take a look at this, it's almost 7-1. 684,000, almost 85,000, 685,000 for Trump versus 95,000 for Biden. The average number of comments, this is somebody who actually took the time to type something up on their computer or their phone and press post, right? These are people who actually took the time to do that. 22,750 for Trump versus 4,150 roughly for Biden. A giant difference, over a 5-fold increase for comments and almost a 7x for likes. Think about this for a second. We just have only been through 3 factors. We still have 2 more to go through. And then I'm going to also tell you about a little bonus thing at the end here. But that's a lot of data points. But look at this. This poll here is from Emerson, and this is 964 people. This one here is from Rasmussen, 2,500 people. This one here is 1,229. This one here is 2,850. Let me ask you for a quick question here. How many people are in America? How many citizens are there? What's the population? If you don't know, it's about 330 million people. So for a moment, do you think that a survey where you know that the data is completely fucking batshit crazy, landlines and these surveys that we talked about, do you think that is going to be representative of what the collective of Americans, 330 million people, think? Thank God you're not a dumbass. So let's go on to the next factor. So this is the hashtag usage on Instagram, meaning people who use the hashtag Trump 2020 or use the hashtag Biden 2020. When we take a look at these, again, it is just astonishing the differences here. But this is not at all what is reported by mainstream media. Disinformation versus misinformation, right? There's a purpose to mislead the American public. I don't know why more people don't call them out. Like, it's absolutely stunningly ridiculous. So Joe Biden, he's got 151,592 people who have used his hashtag, right? It's been used that many times on Instagram. Versus Trump at 2.55 roughly million. Damn, that's a lot. Over a 10-fold, right? What is that, a 15x or something? Absolutely stunning. No, higher than a 15x, right? Maybe that's a 16 or 17x, 17-1. Absolutely stunning. What is going on here, right? Because this is a lot of data, but none of it's pointing to Biden. Interesting, right? This is people's actual behaviors. What is going on here? Misinformation and disinformation. Last factor we take a look at before we get into a little bit of a bonus, it's more of a joke here, but this is Google, and we can take a look at the total amount of search volume for each one of these candidates when you take a look at over 30 days in the United States. So we have Joe Biden, Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, and then you just add the word Instagram to that. And we get to see here that there's a big discrepancy here. Again, the largest site in the planet, it's almost 3-to-1. So this is a tremendous amount of data here. Over the last 30 days, a boatload of people. The only time was, looks like last week. Today is 8/7. So 4 days ago, there was a moment in time where Biden had more search volume on Google in terms of Joe Biden Instagram versus Donald Trump Instagram than Donald Trump did. That's the only time. And you get to see here, you get to see that it's almost 3-to-1. Not quite 3-to-1, right? 2.75-ish, roughly, to 1. So that means for almost every 275 people, then there's 100 people for Joe Biden. But again, why? Because this is the reality that is told to the American public. Right? Disinformation is meant and used to mislead the public. I have the shirt over here down below. This is "My Governor is an Idiot" in New York. Right? Then there's a picture of Cuomo on the back of this one. The governor of New York is basically locking down the citizens through putting checkpoints throughout the city. I'm literally not making this up. You can go Google this. The people, the idiocy that is, and I don't even want to, I don't mean that Cuomo is necessarily an idiot. It's just the things that he seems to say or do with his actions are idiotic, in my opinion. Right? Absolutely stunningly ridiculous. If you want to support the channel, jump over, grab a shirt, take a picture of you wearing it and post it on Instagram, and I will definitely reshare that. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe. Tomorrow we have an awesome video. Tomorrow is the YouTube channel rankings. So we take a look at a lot more data on that as well. It's super interesting. That's one of my favorite videos. So make sure you press that bell notification too, so YouTube will notify you when I drop that video. If you guys want to jump over to Instagram and say what's good, there's a link down below, as well as Twitter. Appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.